Hello and welcome back to another festive coding session with Mr. Jacob. A session where I have my Grinch mug ready to create with you the next step in our Advent of Languages. The Advent of Languages is actually the 24 days of December, where we use every day a different language to create one and the same program. And the program or actually the result that we want to produce is to output something like this ASCII tree to the command line. And today's language, we will actually use Python to create this result. And let me directly, if I'm having it here and selecting it already, let me simply copy this tree quickly into my clipboard so that we can use it then in the Python thingy as a reference. Let's create our Python folder and switch into it and go in there and create our helloxmas.py file. Okay, so we have our py file here, so let me add this Christmas tree there. Let me quickly comment that one out so that we have it as a reference. Let's remove this not needed spacing. So now we actually have, come on, we have something that we can actually, that we, NeoVim, yeah, that we can actually talk about. We have this reference there, and so we can get started. So in Python, you can simply print something using the print function. So I could do something like print hello Xmas, and it should actually do that. No, let's not leave Python, not leave Vim for that, but either use the executing here. So as you can see, we now print hello Xmas. So what we can actually do here now is we can use that to print our tree. And I guess to print our tree, we are simply calling something like draw tree, which we then define. And as before, we had always given the tree function the groups that we want, or the amount of groups that we want to print. So we defined that these are groups. So we have one group, two groups, and three groups. Those segments of the tree, we called them groups. So let's maybe print, I don't know, 5 groups here, and then we need to define a function called draw tree. And in Python, we actually don't have the delimiting braces for blocks. So what we actually use is we simply use indentation. So if I now indent the lines after this function declaration here, this determines that we are within a block, and Python actually uses the code structure, the indentation structure, to determine where we actually are in our code and how the blocks and the scoping is formed. So in this case, actually, we just simply indent there, and then we want to print our usual thingy there. So what we want to print first, of course, is the spacing until the tree starts. And we determined that this is, the spacing actually has the following amount. It has the amount, or we need the amount of spaces that is based on the group here, as well as the index of the group. However, I've missed a step, as I've just seen. So we are not even in the function of drawing the groups. So what we need to do here is we need to do something like for n in range group. And that's actually the way how you do 4 iterations over a certain range. In Rust, you specify this with this range keyword, and then you can specify from and to. So I could do 0 to group. However, if you start at 0, you can simply only specify one argument, and it will go from 0 to this argument, which makes it a little bit neater. So, and this is something where I then want to call draw group. Yes, exactly. And I want to put in the n, and I want to put in the maximum number of groups. So let's define our group drawing function. So def draw group, where we take in an n, which is an int, and we take in the len, which is an int as well. And then we now can actually draw our grouping. So we need to first of all print the spacing. How would we print the spacing? Before we used for that some sort of printf, for example, or Rust formatting strings, or in JavaScript template literals, and all that kind of stuff. So in Python, there is something equivalent to that, which is called f-strings. F-strings were introduced quite late, actually, in the Python 3 lifetime, around 3.6, 3.7, I guess. I'm not 100% sure. However, they were introduced in the Python 3 lifetime, and they are actually quite neat. You can use them in more or less the same way that we did use JavaScript template literal strings. And you simply denote them with an F before the string so that Python now knows this is an F string here. And now I can use curly braces in here and put Python expressions into those curly braces, and they will be evaluated and the string will be formed, and then it will be used. So what I can actually do here is I could simply reference a variable here now, because a variable is a valid Python expression. However, I can put some other Python expression in there. And Python has another nice little feature. If you multiply a string with a number, it actually repeats the string the number of times you give it. So what I can do here is I simply specify an empty string, and then I multiply this empty string with the number of spaces that I want, and it will simply repeat this space. So we can simply do that now, and we need the number of spaces. We determined that before is actually the maximum number of groups that we want to print minus the group number where we're currently in. So we now have this spacing. And this needs to be followed by the by our starting slash there, so our starting tree part. And then we need another group of spaces as well. Oh no, I needed to put the slash here after our expression, of course. And now we need some spacing as well, because we now need the inner part of the tree. And this time, I guess, we will call a separate function here called draw ornaments, because I want to do something a little bit different this time than before and make the tree a little bit neater. So let's draw this inner part. So essentially this part here. Which needs a length, of course, as well. So we need to tell it how much length this should have. And we already determined before that this is actually n times 2 in length. And once we have done that, we need our backslash there as the end of this group, and we are ready with the first, with the first line of this group. Okay, so now we can kind of copy this line, and the next line needs one spacing less, of course, because it is bigger in each direction by one character, and it needs here a spacing of n plus 1, actually times 2 spaces. So if we have 0 spaces here, we want 2 there. If we have 2 spaces here, we want 4 there, and so on. You get the idea. So now we should actually have correctly formatted and printed our tree groups. So let's quickly check that this is actually the case. And of course, I did something wrong there because I haven't written Python for ages. So type error, draw tree, got an unexpected keyword argument, groups. Did you mean groups? So I most likely spelled something wrong there. Yeah, exactly. I spelled wrong groups. However, this is a neat little point or time to point out that you can actually have what I did intuitively here, use named variable groups with Python. So I can actually name this thing, and if I would have something else here like foobar or foo, which is an int as well, I could specify it like this here neatly so that we actually have a naming. And if I remember correctly, even if you specify the name, the order doesn't matter anymore, and you can reorder them when giving them. However, we don't actually need that here. We only have one argument, but I did that just to enhance readability, as you have seen, just intuitively. So let's see. What's wrong now? So name group is not defined. Yeah, that's perfectly fine because I now renamed this thing. So let's quickly, quickly fix that there, and let's do this. And now we have draw ornaments is not defined. Yeah, that makes sense. I never wrote this function, did I? So draw ornaments. And draw ornaments kind of takes the length of the ornament there. Let's take this as an int as well. And now let's quickly simply draw an ornament, which would be to return, I guess, one of those F strings here, which for now is just a spacing times the length. So this would be the easiest way to create our empty ornament string. And now, as you can see, we have part of our tree. So let's go on and not only draw the groups, but now let's draw this part of the tree. And as we have learned, we can really easily do that using an F string and the multiplication operation on a string. So what we need here is we simply print out an F string with an expression in it that takes the minus character, so the dash character, and multiplies it by the amount of repetitions that it needs. And the amount of repetitions that it needs is actually groups times 2 plus 2. And let me quickly add braces here. And now we should actually have this end of the tree. And we have there the end of the tree. So what we now need to do is we need to draw the trunk. So let's draw the trunk quickly here by supplying the number of groups as well, because this is needed to calculate the spacing there, of course, as well. So we can now define our function, draw trunk. And it takes, I guess, spacing, we could call it. I think we called it that before always. And what it needs to do is it needs to actually go or create spaces of exactly that amount that we have there in the grouping. And once we have that printed out, we then need to print our trunk characters. And we need to do that 2 times. So I guess we will use an F string for that again. Use this expression, simply multiply the space, the spacing character or the spacing string with the spacing amount. And now we have this spacing there, and now we can put our trunk character here, and we do this 2 times, and now we should have a nice trunk. By the way, you can actually put a real string in here. So if I would have written foobar in here with a space and then multiplied this by spacing, it would simply have repeated this string over and over and over again, the amount of spacing. So it doesn't only need to be a character, it can be a full string, which is quite neat. So let's run this again. And as you can see, now we have our Christmas tree there. However, as we were quite fast in implementing this, thanks to these formatting strings and the neat little way that Python does that, I thought we could introduce ornaments. And that is maybe why I originally here thought out to abstract this function out. And as before, we did things like that, where we actually iterated through our ornament spacing there and put ornaments like, for example, the O here. We did that before. However, I thought as Python is very much Unicode capable, a lot of languages are, but in Python it is really, really simple to do that. And we didn't do that before. I thought maybe we could use some emojis maybe. So let me quickly create some ornaments variable here where I actually put in something that I have prepared in my clipboard here. So a string of or a set of different emojis, which would be actually, I think, quite nice as ornaments on our tree. And now we only need to check out how we are actually going to do that. However, before we are even going to do that, we need to take something into account. Can you see something strange when I'm hovering over those things? They are actually double white. So they are double as wide as a normal character. So we need to incorporate that when printing them out in the terminal, which is a monospaced font. So it will not fit. Our tree will break if we not handle this correctly. So let's see how we would actually do that. I guess what we would start doing here is we are saying that we have a line, which is an empty string. That is something that we start with. And then we would have some sort of while loop where we could define before that an I, because we need some iterator variables. So we do I less than len. So while I is less than len, wait, what did I now complete there? Some sort of UUID. What the hell was that? So while I is less than len, I want to actually iterate this thing. And in the end, I don't want to return this fixed string here, but I want to return my line. Okay, now, so what do I want in this iteration? I want to either randomly choose one of my ornaments, or I want to add a space. So let's see if we can do it the same way than we did it before. Actually, in Python, the random function is known as random, and it gives you a floating point variable between 0 and 1. So we can say, okay, with a percentage of 20%, we want to do something here. So we want to print our ornaments. So print ornaments. There we go. So, but else we actually want to do to just do line plus equals and a spacing. So we want a spacing there, and we want to add 1 to I because we need to continue iterating. However, when we print the ornaments, we want something a little bit different there. First of all, we need to select one of our ornaments from our string here. And we could, of course, use the random function and then calculate based on the length of this thing which one we want. However, Python has something a little bit more neater, which is a function called choice. And the function of choice actually allows us to give it a collection, and it just takes one of the items of the collection and gives it to you. So that's kind of exactly what we want. So we want line plus equals choice. Come on, choice from ornaments. So choice 1 from the ornaments and add it to line. And now is where we need to take into account that this thing actually has 2 characters, so that the Unicode character is represented like in a width of 2 characters in our console. So we simply add 2. So if we added a Unicode character, we assume it's 2 characters wide. So this should kind of work. However, random and choice are not there by default, and we need to kind of import them. So I guess we need to do from random is the package name, I hope. From random import random and choice. So we want those things imported here. And now, hopefully, if I run this, we still have a broken tree. Okay, so something we did not do right with our formatting. Oh, I have an idea about that. Oh, interesting. I guess what happened here is we put the 2-character Unicode at the position of the last entry. Okay, so that's a problem. If we actually, okay, we need to change our if condition here. So if we have this random thingy that hits, and we are not at the last position of our ornament string, because if we are already at the last position, we cannot put an emoji there anymore because it would need two spacings. So, and we only have one there. So let's simply do and if I is less than len minus 1. So this should actually take care of that problem. And yeah, that's nice. As you can see, it takes care of that problem. Let's generate another one. And yeah, maybe we could make the thing a little bit bigger. Maybe, I don't know, like an 8 tree or something like that. Yeah, and now we have a beautiful Christmas tree with Unicode ornaments written in Python. And that's really nice. I like it. So yeah, I'm kind of happy with that, and I hope you had fun seeing me and watching doing this as well, and maybe you even learned something about Python here. I'm by no means a Python expert, so if I did something wrong or there is a better idiomatic way to do something, please leave me a comment. I always welcome this. However, it was fun to do this with you, and yeah, I hope to see you tomorrow when we are on the 5th day of December and doing a different language. So see you then. Bye!